So here we have an output from the Arduino. So this is going to be an example of pin 10. So this is a positive power supply when you set the pin to high. That then goes through the LED and emits light as indicated by the symbol here. It also then goes through the resistor, so that limits the amount of current that actually flows and heads towards ground, which is technically at 0 volts. Now, with the input using a momentary switch or a push button switch, we are going to connect it to 5 volts. Right. And the other end is hooked up to ground, so low. When the switch is open, which means you haven't pushed on it, the signal that comes out and is fed into the Arduino is actually connected to ground. So that actually is registered as a 0 or a low. As soon as I push the switch down, it makes contacts across here, and the current goes through here, and because it's connected to the 5 volts, that actually is registered as a high or a 1. When I remove the switch, so I open it, so I break the contact, it then is connected back to low or 0. Alright, so let's actually get this circuit working. So the whole point of the circuit is for us to feed in a input. So we're going to use a push button, send a signal to the Arduino, and then we want the Arduino to switch on a light. So let's have a look at the parts that we'll need. We'll need an LED and a resistor, a switch, and a 1 mega ohm resistor. Alright, so let's go through this. So we need 2 resistors, one for the LED and one for the push button switch. Alright. Now just remember, these 2 terminals here are actually joined. Those 2 are joined. When you actually push the button, it makes a contact across those 2 and those 2 at the same time. We wanted a 1 mega ohm resistor for the switch, so I'm going to click on that and change that to 1 mega ohm. Alright, so now we're going to put an Arduino board. So I want it to make it look like it's got a shield. So I'm going to select that and hit delete and just leave me with the Arduino, and I'm going to add a breadboard mini so it will look like the shield device that you guys have. Alright, now I'm going to set this up, and you can leave it set up like this for all the other ones. I'm going to connect that side to ground and join that to ground, so all of these pins here are now the ground voltage, and going to connect that one there to the 5 volts. So anything I plug in along here, so that now gives me 7 little ports, that's going to be positive 5 volts, and we'll need that for the switch. Now I'm just going to change this to black to signify the ground, and change this one to red, which will then signify that's the positive 5 volts. Okay, so let's go back to our circuit here. We're going to hook this LED up through a resistor and then to ground. Alrighty, so we're going to put our resistor here, and we need to connect it to ground. So ground's over there, we need the resistor to go lengthways. So going into the corner here, I'm going to rotate it. Okay. and I'm going to grab my LED and join it to the breadboard, and I'm going to join this to pin 8. So I'm going to get the Arduino to send a signal out from pin 8 that will be positive, goes through the LED back through to ground, and it will light up when I give the command. Now 1 kilo ohm is a little bit too large, so the LED would actually be a little bit dull, so we'll let a little bit more current goes through by decreasing the resistance. Okay, so looking at this one over here for now for the switch, one side of the switch is hooked up to 5 volts, the other side is hooked up to the resistor, and the resistor goes to ground. So I'm going to bring my resistor over here and rotate it around. So that resistor is now connected to ground. I'm going to bring my switch in, and the other side of the switch is connected to the other side of the switch. Sorry, the 5 volts is actually connected to the other side of the switch. Now the signal is going to be sent into the Arduino in between the switch and the resistor. So there's the switch between those 2 points, resistor, so I'm going to join that one and hook it up to 7. So I'm going to feed a signal in to 7. The Arduino is going to process it, and then if it recognizes that a button has been pushed, then it's going to send the signal out. Alright, so let's actually code for this now. So again, it's just a fancy piece of instruction, but the Arduino won't do anything unless we tell it exactly what to do. So we're going to go into code, and we are going to play with text. Hit continue, and I'm going to make my font a little bit larger so it can be read. Alright, so here we go. Pin 8 is going to be our output. So pin 8, and that's going to be defined as an output. We're actually feeding a signal in to the Arduino via 7. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, copy, paste, put 7, and this will be input. Now those need to be in capitals, don't forget the semicolons. Alright, so now I've just told the Arduino that 8 is an output, 7 is an input. We'll just delete this. Okay. So what we want to do is when we actually push on the button, that's going to send a positive pulse. So let's actually we will need to read what actually happens on 7. So if, which is a function, if I actually digitally read what is happening onto 7, and that is the same as 1. Okay, so that's when we push it down and it gets the high voltage. Let's start what we're going to do if that is true. I want to digitally write to pin number 8 a high voltage to switch on the LED. Now I'm going to put in a delay here. This is to do with debouncing of a switch. Sometimes when you push it, the contacts are a bit rough inside, so you can actually get multiple signals. So if it detects it, then we're just going to wait 50 milliseconds, which is the approximate time for a very quick push on the button. And then to finish our if statement, alright, so that curly bracket, and that actually closes it off. Now if that isn't true, so if it doesn't read a 1, what do we want to do? Well, we want to switch off the light. So we're going to write digital write to pin 8 a low, or I liked, because I'm a bit lazy with typing, I just put a 0. Okay, so that should be all done, provided I haven't made any typing mistakes. So we'll start the simulation. All good, no errors has actually came up. So now when I push on the button, the LED light comes on. And when I let go, it turns off. Alright, so this gives you a better view of how you are required to set it up on your own Arduinos and shields. Alright, thank you.